Katie.
Hi, Lauren. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. I was totally vibing to that music for the countdown.
That was nice, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Thanks,
No,
StreamYard.
I looked up and it was like 2 seconds. And I'm like, oh, I should probably stop dancing.
Dancing always welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm super
Taking
excited
us into the bathroom with you, like not as welcome.
Yeah. I'll save that for later.
Yeah,
totally. I hate when I have like dirt on my screen that's like right over my face, and I'm like, oh my God, do I have warts that I never noticed? And no, it's just my screen. Yeah. Just normal.
Your regular, everyday emotional breakdowns.
Exactly. If you only knew.
Oh, I know.
Oh man, yeah. I'm really excited for our topic today.
Yes, me too. Mm-hmm. And I actually have like a funny little, not business related story from yesterday about intuition, which is what we're going to talk about today. And so I went to the eye doctor. Every couple of years or so, I act like a child and I rub my eyes too much from allergies. And then I end up having to go to the eye doctor because I've like caused some sort of bigger issue. And so I went to the eye doctor yesterday, and the last time I saw him was 1.5 years ago. And he had given me my like written glasses prescription, and I didn't get any new glasses, which is unusual for me. But something told me like, I don't think that prescription's quite right. And not because I knew that it should be like minus 4.5 instead of minus 4.25, but just something about it was like, I don't think that's right. And when I went to him yesterday for like the same problem, but I don't have the medicine anymore, he wrote my prescription down for me again. And it was different, like very different. So as I'm leaving the office and going to exchange one prescription for the other, I went back in and I said, I don't think this is right. Like he said, my prescription's the same. These are actually the same glasses that I wore the last time he wrote it down. So we went back into his office and he got very angry that I was like challenging his knowledge. And so I just thanked him for double checking, and I left and I called Costco, which is where I get all my glasses. You could be just like me. And I called Costco and I asked them what prescription they had on file, which was from the guy I went to for my last eye exam before this guy. And it was completely different. And I said, is that what what you have on file? Is that what my glasses are? And my vision hasn't really changed in like 20 years. Right. And he was like, yep. So I made an appointment with my old eye doctor to get my eyes checked. And thank goodness that I didn't order glasses, because if they were wrong, but they were the prescription the doctor wrote down, like I'd have been responsible for paying for them. Seriously. So now I get to go for the good eye exam from the guy who does eye exams, but not medical exams. I got the good medical prescription from the guy who does medical exams, but not really good at eye exams. And I'll have new glasses in several weeks.
Yeah. I love and hate that story for various reasons. Yeah. I think it's such a great example of how there are people and circumstances out there in the world who will literally try to gaslight us about our intuition being wrong. Yes. And get angry, and like get all in their feels and make things difficult and, set up barriers and obstacles. And that's 2 words for barrier. I love it when I do that. And it really like forces us to check in and like double down on no. Like I think there's something off here. Yeah.
So I'm super glad I trusted it. I also realized that I got stuck in the way that I looked for a long time. And I've been wearing these glasses almost exclusively. I have like a dozen pairs of glasses, and all of them need to be adjusted except for these, which happens when your prescription's really strong because your glasses just start like turning out because the Coke bottles are so thick. Even though I have the ultra thin lenses to look, trendy. But I realized, and you can see from my hair, that like things are changing. It's time for me to it's time for me to move again. And this is actually, most people who know me from like my public facing time, which is really like the last 3 or 4 years, have only seen my natural hair color. So I'm like reintroducing myself from 1990s Lauren and mid 2000s Lauren. And I've done that a lot of hair colors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
We've got
so fun. Hi, Justin.
Hey, Justin. Yeah, trust your gut. Off is the direction in which you may fuck. That's very like Yoda-esque.
Yeah.
But like add profanity. I like it.
Yeah. It's just it's a very polite way of saying it. Yeah, no, I'm wearing an Echo.
Are you?
Can you? Yeah. Maybe not. No longer. We've been having weird audio. Okay. Anyway, no. So I was going to share, I started this thing last year where I do like intuition play dates with myself. And so I'll check in and I'll just be like, cool, what is my intuition telling me I need to do right in this moment? And last summer, there was this moment on a Saturday where I was like trying to get some work done and I wasn't getting anywhere with it. And I'm like, got to check in. My intuition was like, you got to go and inquire about selling your Pokemon cards from like when I was a kid. Cause like when my sister and I were kids, like we collected Pokemon cards, but we weren't like good collectors. We would get the special ones and then we would trade them for the cute ones because, we were, we didn't actually play Pokemon. We just like really liked the cute pictures. Hi, Roby. But anyway, but like what a random thing. And like this binder's been kicking around forever and like, who cares? But anyway, so I called this place that was like in New Bedford in Massachusetts. And I asked, do you guys buy Pokemon cards? And they're like, yeah, we do actually. And I was like, cool. Like how late are you guys open? And they said, oh, well, we're open until 4. And it was like noon. And I was like, it's an hour away. But I have nothing better to do today. My intuition's telling me to go do this. So I drove there. And I sold the Pokemon cards. They're only worth like $20. But anyway, there was this music thing happening down the block at this theater called the Zeiterion. And I went down there and I remembered this friend that I had in college who like, she kind of dumped me. Like, I'll be honest, she kind of dumped me. When I moved to California, we stayed in touch for a little bit. And then there's a point where she just never called me back. And I had no idea what I'd done. And it was really heartbreaking. But I was like, oh, I remember she works here. And so I went up to someone who worked at the theater. I said, hey, does so-and-so still work here? And they're like, yeah, this is actually her event. She's now like the director of fundraising. And so I was like, oh my God. So I like went around the event and I found her and we hugged and like said hi. And she reached out a couple of days later and we ended up going to dinner and she like apologized for dumping me the way she did. And it was like this beautiful closed loop, but it's almost like my intuition knew that I'd be able to close this loop if I went there that day. Because literally that theater is closed because they're renovating the whole thing. Like I wouldn't have a chance to run into her really.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Justin's pretty upset with you.
Mother of God, you were sitting on a gold mine. No, I wasn't.
Your Pokemon cards.
Back when I was a kid, maybe, but no.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so interesting. Like, I know you have this. I know I have it too. Like sometimes I walk into a room and I know the energy in the room, or I know something good is about to happen, or I know to leave the room, right? Like this isn't a room I belong in. And anytime I contradict myself and I try to tell myself like, no, you're just nervous, or, what are you looking for? Like, why are you imagining that something's going to happen? Every time I counter it and I don't do what I think I'm supposed to do, I look back and I realize I could have, should have. And if I would have, it would have been really cool. And often those opportunities like present themselves again. Like the universe is like, Lauren, it's time to listen this time. But I have learned, especially in the last few years, to trust my intuition more and follow it, and to learn to discern what is like, this seems like something, but it's scary, versus this seems like something and I don't want it.
Right. Yeah. I love how you said that. It's like the universe. I don't know if your parents ever like hid gifts like for holidays or something, and they'd be like, "Oh, well, you should go into the laundry room." And you're like, "No, I don't have any laundry to do." They're like, "You should go into the laundry room." Like, and you're like, "This is getting weird. I really don't want to go in the laundry room right now."
I'm so weird about laundry.
I know, right? I hate laundry. But yeah, no, it's funny, you know. I think so many of us get trained out of lists or checking in with our intuition because we're told to like think of the correct thing to do or think of like what makes sense logically. And when we start kind of training our brains out of using our intuition, we actually force a lot of dissonance into our like being with ourselves, and we normalize it. So we're constantly in our lives, and we're just making decisions that don't feel good because they make logical sense, and then we end up in a life that we don't want. And I think that's where a lot of people kind of say, "Oh, I don't want any of this," and they kind of like burn their life down and start something new. And I think that's kind of what you and I both did in very different aspects or different styles, but it's also what our clients do. You know,
I feel like you like tossed a bottle of lighter fluid and a match behind you and like just ran, and I lit tiny little fires everywhere. Until finally it was a bonfire and like I felt safe walking away.
Yeah, it was more for me. It was more like I lit a cigarette. I don't actually smoke. I lit a cigarette. I used it to light my Molotov cocktail. I threw it in, and then I just sat here, guys, because I watched everything just burn, and then I very calmly walked away.
Yeah, that tracks for both of us. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but it's like, you know, and there comes a point where your intuition gets so frustrated with you because it's like, we've been telling you this shit all along. And that's really, I think, what pushes you to that point of making these big dramatic decisions for your life that changes absolutely everything.
Yeah, totally. And that's also what we both did, right? Like just like finally made the big dramatic decisions that made it so that like it really is burned down. There's no life for me to go back to. Like my goal continues to be to make myself unemployable. I'm not in for being a good employee anymore.
Yeah.
I'm in for my clients if that's what they want. To be good employees as long as they're taking care of themselves first. But you know, you and I work in very different audiences. Well, sometimes one audience leads to the other, but you know, most of my clients want to stay in their corporate lives. They just want it to be like different, and they have this knowing, right? Like when they finally come to me, they know all the things they don't want anymore. They know what they're called to, and sometimes it takes some like discovery to like really get it to all come out. But they've been telling themselves all this time, like, you can't have it.
Yeah. It's funny. My big intuitive journey has been asking for what I want, you know, and it's like, it's always that thing that I'm like, oh my God, I really want this. I really want this. I'm like, no, but you shouldn't ask for it. You should wait for it to be offered to you. Don't you dare ask for it. People will think that you're greedy or blah, 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 blah. And there have been some instances, even in the last few months, where I've been like, oh my God, I want this so much. And I've just asked for it. And people are like, oh my God, I so want to give that to you. Yes. You know, yes, I've been hoping you would ask that, you know? And it's like, oh, that's incredible. Absolutely. All right. Awesome. But it really does take like checking into that inner voice, listening to it, and then just, you know, just not being a weenie about it, to use my own catchphrase, and just ask for it, you know, because the worst they can say is no. The worst that can happen is they get a little awkward. They're like, oh, well, I'll think about it. But
Yeah. The thing that makes me feel the most frustrated for other people is when they talk about something that they know they could be going after. It's not even should. It's like they're so pulled to it. They're so drawn to it. And there's like a whole list of reasons why not in front of them that they've created that are like, you know, you just build the mountain in front of you and it gets steeper and steeper and you look up and you're like, there's no way I can.
Right.
Which, you know, the most frustrating phrase I ever heard was when I hired my very first coach and I told her, like, here are all the things I can't do. Here's I work this many hours. I'm not going to be able to change that. My schedule is crazy. Will you see me after hours? Will you do this? I don't know how I'm going to make the time for all of this. It's not, you know, none of this is going to change. And she said, if you say so. And it's something I have used with clients, but I didn't think it applied to me. Like not me at the top of the mountain in my shrouds of robes and people fanning me with a feather and feeding me peeled grapes because I am the wise one with all of the knowledge. You can't be talking about me. She was. I hired her. But you know, we do so much telling ourselves what we can't have or what's too hard that like we drown out the noise of intuition, I think, and like convince ourselves that those are just pipe dreams. We can't actually live like that. I just almost knocked my water over. There was that's what that flinch was.
Don't worry. Yeah. There's a reason why I only drink out of this vessel because it doesn't spill. Actually, funny story. So I like at bedtime, this is completely besides the point. At bedtime, Luna gets like her bedtime treats and then like I have to slow her down on the treats. So I find like a tennis ball. I'm like, I usually toss the ball up in the air and she catches it and then I have to wrestle it away from her. And this was on the bed like this right next to me. And it has this flip top and it was so full. It was full to the top and the ball fell directly on this. And all of a sudden water just started gushing all over my bed. This is a couple weeks ago.
Oh man, that's the wrong kind of water bed.
The wrong kind. Yeah. And of course, like it's like right where your pillows are. It's like, oh God. And I went to sleep in it because I was too lazy to change the sheets. But that's a different story.
I get that.
But anyway, there's a point I want to make about like our intuition and our imagination. I think they're inextricably tied together. Because oftentimes like our logical brain will look for evidence out there in the world of what we can and can't have. Right. And our imagination doesn't follow those rules. Our imagination starts playing like, oh, but like, what if I were on Oprah? What if I were on this thing? What if I did go for this? What if I did make this money? And the thing I've really learned to believe in working with my clients is like, if it's something you're imagining that like is just playing out in your head, it's because it's possible for you. You know, I never imagined winning the Olympics. I don't give a fuck. Right? I'm not athletically inclined. I'm not interested in any of that stuff. Like, you know, I don't like picture myself doing that, but there's a lot of stuff I do picture myself doing. And I'm a firm believer that my intuition, my imagination would not be teaming up to show that stuff to me if it weren't possible for me.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And I think, we imagine in both ways, right? We imagine being on Oprah. We imagine being called by Brene Brown's people to see if she can be on my show, right? Like that's my future. That's my future life. But then I also imagine no client ever calls me again. This was it. This was the time period where this business worked, and that was it, right? So like, there's a little bit of an angel devil on your shoulder kind of thing for me. And I think for so many of us, the negative imagination, when we don't talk about it, can outweigh the positive, right? Like if I come to you, and for those of you who don't know, Katie is my business coach. But if I come to you and I'm like, I want to do this thing, but I'm scared. Here are all the terrible things I think might happen. I count on you not to be like, those are probably the that's probably going to happen. You're probably going to lose your house and your car, and they're going to repossess your dog. And I don't know. They can't repossess my dog. She's been with me for 16 years.
She's paid off also,
she's totally paid off. But what's funny? And this is an aside, and I'm going to come back to my point. When I adopted her, they chipped her. And part of the adoption agreement, the contract, was that the original rescue would have to be notified if she got lost. And that like ownership would return to them if she got lost. And it was deemed to be, in their opinion, like mistreatment or neglect on my part. So 16 years in, I'm like, please don't call Deb. Puppy is still with me. Anyway, so I count on you as my coach, and my clients count on me, and we count on like our strong friends who don't live in fear and try to keep us like protected and in a small box. We count on each other to say like, great, good job getting all of those fears out. Now, what could happen if it works out?
Right.
And then what are the steps towards that? And we need that in our lives. Otherwise, our negative imagination can totally drown us and keep us in the same stuck place forever.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. This is one of the reasons why it's so important to set really strong, clear boundaries with people in your life who genuinely love you and support you and want good things for you, but their fear gremlins or saboteurs get activated on your behalf. Like they get fearful for you. Like I know my mom has said some doozies that are like, Mom, like, don't say that about my business and my life. And it's just like, she thinks she's being so helpful and that she's reassuring me. And it's like, for me, she's colluding with all these like saboteurs that I have in my mind that are telling me that I'm going to crash and fail,
Yep.
And
I do know that. And
sorry.
No, go ahead.
We have to set very clear boundaries with people, and just make sure that they know, like, we know that this comes from a place of love and support and care, but shut the fuck up. When you feel the inclination to share that, just stop.
Yeah. Totally. And it's important to know like who your people are for different things, right? Like if I need my fears confirmed, I know who to go to. I know the people who are afraid for me, or who have tried something I'm trying and their way of trying it didn't succeed.
Right.
And they're like, oh, don't even bother. I've already tried that. It doesn't work. Yeah. And, you and I have talked about this. I'm thinking about moving and trying to figure out like what I want and what I don't want. And, I already know.
Yeah.
And, I still think about like, well, maybe I'll stay here for another year. Maybe I'll stay in this apartment that suited me when I moved here 16 years ago, when I was like young and fun and walked into the downtown where there was like a hot happy hour scene and where I worked in an office. And now all these years later, I'm like lucky if I get dressed nicely to go to the grocery store. And that's my idea of like a real good time because, new sales start on Thursdays. And and then, I go out, I don't even go into my town because it's like a destination dinner town. I go and see my friends who are sort of all over the place. And my dining room became an office and I look at my living room all day. Like it doesn't work for me anymore. And I know that. And I still have fear. And I have people in my life like you who say, this is what you want to do. Do it. Yeah, do it. Why would you not do it?
In my mind, you're already in Lewis. Like, it's just like, oh, cool. Lauren's just vacationing in Bethesda right now. Like, she's only going to be there for a few more months. I better see her there before she moves. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So, So I think it's important. Like, I think who you surround yourself is important. And I think like I can't remember, maybe it's Gabby Bernstein, but somebody says, some famous coach says, you are what you think. Like, you are your thoughts. Like, if you think it, you're correct.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean we like immediately develop this capability or ever develop this capability to just like shut off the things that the doubts that come into our mind, the things we tell ourselves we can't have. Right. But if we can catch ourselves faster.
Right. Yeah.
There's an opportunity to actually listen to that intuition instead of talking ourselves out of what we want.
Yeah. No, 100%. And it's, I mean, really, like when you start asserting, like, I can and can't do this, like that that's a big statement. What can you do and what can't you do? Right. And it's like, can't is a very complicated word, right? Is it that like scheduling wise, it just doesn't work right now? Okay. So the schedule needs to be worked. Financially, it doesn't work right now. Okay. So the money needs to be figured out. Skills wise, you don't have the skills yet to do that. Cool. So you need to go and get the skills. You know, there are very few instances like, you know, I'm probably not going to be drafted for the NBA men's team. I don't have a penis. I don't know. Like, I just don't like, and it's for men. And also they're very tall. I'm not that tall. I'm 5'6", and they like sports and they understand how the game is played. I don't really like yes, I can't go for the NBA. Like, that's logical. Like, that's not going to happen, but
sure.
But also, if I really wanted to be, I don't know why I'm like harking on sports right now. But if I really wanted to be a professional sports player, then there would be a way for me to do that. I'm convinced, but I don't actually want it. So, but can't is just one of those things that like if it's something that you want, chances are you can have it. It's just going to look different.
And chances are you've already had exposure to it in some way. Right.
Yeah.
So you talk about sports and my brain just goes like numb. Like, I hear just like a low buzzing. I'm not really sure what you're talking about, but like, I get that there are men who play in the NBA, and then I hear just like buzz. Over to you, Lauren. And so, but I think, like, you know, when I think about what I've done, I 20 years in HR, and my favorite part was coaching. And I was naturally good at it. I got some training as an HR professional in like the more facilitative side of coaching, goals and objectives and actions and all of that kind of stuff. And I had an intuitive way of working that made me really good at the other side of coaching, which is questions and listening and all of that. And what I knew when I moved into this career, like as a full-time career, was I'd already done it. I'd already done all this work. I'd already done the job. I just hadn't done it full-time. And when I talk to my clients, and when I talk to people in my community who have been career changers or job changers or have gone from employee to entrepreneur, like what I hear is that there was always some inkling of what they're doing now, inside of what they were doing before. Well, even if it was like 5% of their job, or their best friend had the job and they were always talking to them about it, like the talent for the things that you want to do tends to be there, and you tend to shove it down and say like, I can't have it.
Right. Yeah. You know, I love that you said that, because one of the things that I point to in my past that I've done that I think was one of the best skills builder for what I do right now was teaching knitting. Like standing in a room with 8 to 12 women, because no men signed up for my classes, not that they weren't invited, and teaching each and every one of them the same things, but having to do it in a different way for every single person because they learn differently. I would not have gotten that training and that experience anywhere else. And I'm convinced that is the number one most impactful thing that I'm able to do with my clients. Because even if I had the skills of sales and marketing and all this stuff, like how would I know how to teach people how to do it themselves if I hadn't had that experience? Right? You know, because like how I teach you how to do something is very different from how I teach, 5 other clients how to do something.
Yeah. And that's one of the things I really like about, like, when I get into overwhelm, I have like an incapacity to hear, right? Or absorb. And so being able to, hey, Beverly, being able to articulate to you that I don't understand, and then have you come back at me with a different way to do it or a smaller step. It's something I do with the people around me too, is like, cool, what's step one? And I work with high achievers. I know you do too, but I work with high achievers, and I'll be like, okay, what's step one? And if they want to open a bakery, step one is sign the lease for the bakery. And I'm like, wait, hold on. What kind of bakery do you want? Right? Like, what's before that? And what's before that? And what's before that? Yeah. And so I think a lot of times we talk ourselves out of intuition because the step seems too big and insurmountable. And so we're just gonna take the back seat to that, because we're already here. We're already in this career. We're already working for this company or this person. And someday we'll retire, and then we can follow our dreams.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's funny. All through my 20s, I knew I wanted to be a coach. And the whole time I'm like, well, I'm not qualified enough. I'm too young. No one's going to listen to me, and this and that and the other thing. And it's like, cool, I guess I'll just work for 40 years and get to a point of success where then I'll get trained as a coach, and then I'll start a coaching career. Cause then I'll have the years behind me and like the gray hairs, and people will really see me as credible.
Right.
And that was not true.
Look at us now.
Not a single gray hair on this head.
This one either, but I just dyed it last night, so they'll be back.
I don't know. I don't think I do. I haven't actually looked, but blonde is hard to see.
Yeah. When I was blonde, my grays just sunk right in. Yeah,
they just reflect the blonde back.
Yeah. I had a post the other day on LinkedIn that was about being halfway there, and how there's sort of two sides of the coin to that, where you can say I'm halfway there and like, oh my gosh, I'm only halfway there, or you can say I'm halfway there and like, I'm already halfway there. And I made the point in the post, and I did it quite eloquently, of course. But I made the point in the post, and then somebody came into the comments, and in that I had talked about coloring my hair because of how I've just gone from blonde to red again. And she said, have you ever thought about going all gray, in the comment? And I said, oh, I have. And I totally would. I think silver hair is beautiful, but I'm only about, a quarter gray under the blonde. So, I wasn't trying to cover it up, etc. And she replied, I wish I was more silver, but I'm only halfway there. I replied, you're already halfway there. She was like, I see what you did. But it's, our outlook puts us in this place where, like, if we're on the path to already, like, I'm already thinking about it, I'm already planning it, I'm already into the belief that I can do it, then our intuition is going to serve us. If we think the other way, I'm only halfway there, or I'm not even halfway there, or it's so many steps, I'm so far away from it, then it's easier to say to our intuition, like, you're wrong. I don't have it in me. I don't have the tools or the support or the money or the time or whatever it is, and I won't. And then we keep shutting down our intuition, and we're living this life that feels inauthentic. And I did that for like a while. I loved HR for 15 years, and I was in it for 20.
Yeah.
And when I came to you, I was like, in another 5 years, I might want to try this out as a pretty big side gig. Right. So like, even when I came to you to start working with you, I was talking to you about like all the maybes of my future.
Right.
That I didn't really believe. I still didn't believe I could have.
No, totally. Yeah. Lo and behold, like 3 months later, like, I gave my notice, and I'm like, what?
I gave my notice today. You're like, what? What
happened to the Lauren Lefkowitz I talked to 3 months ago, who had a 5-year plan? Like,
yeah, I don't want to work there anymore. Unfortunately, the universe gave me a CEO. They gave me a new CEO, who I was not aligned with.
Yeah.
And for me, when when intuition comes in and tells me that I have the opportunity to do something or be something or have something, I often need the push that says like, and that doesn't suit you anymore.
Yeah.
So had I been still working with the former CEO who I'd worked with for 4 or 5 years, who was my favorite CEO to work with of all time, had I still been working with him, I probably would have been much slower to say I'm ready. Like I needed both sides pushing me towards my future. What I wanted and what I no longer wanted to be like aligned to push me to my own business full time. No more boss, no more company. And I left at just the right time. Like all the initiatives changed in a way I wasn't aligned with after I left, all of the way that they did business. And so the timing for me was perfect.
Yeah.
But if I hadn't listened, and if I had listened to fear instead of intuition, 6 years later, after I like first decided something had to be different and I didn't know what it was, I'd still be in a corporate HR job, probably working too many hours, probably not setting any boundaries, probably not knowing you, because who had time for LinkedIn when you worked 80 to 100 hours a week? And
no, it's funny. My mom always says that, there's always 3 things that happen to push you out of something. Like 3 things that happen to make you want to move, 3 things that happen that make you want to quit your job or end a relationship or a friendship or whatever. And I think it's kind of a chicken and the egg kind of situation, because I think like there's a part of us that knows that this isn't right for us. And there's a part of us, and I think it's our intuition, that starts looking for the first thing. And then the first thing it's like, see, here's evidence. And then you start looking for the second thing, and they're like, more evidence, one more. And then you see that third thing. You're like, okay, good. This is my logical excuse to leave.
Right? Yeah.
But it's like, it's funny for those of us who haven't trusted our intuition for a really long time. Like we have to kind of build trust back up with it. And we kind of need those baby steps, those like those bumpers, for a bowling metaphor, to keep us kind of within the confines of what we think is like, okay. Right.
Yeah. Bowling is a sport I understand.
Yeah. Same. Only the bumpers slow. Otherwise it's gutters all day.
I once went bowling with a group of people. This was just after college, and we bowled like all night. Like we just kept bowling. It was really fun. And like the next day, as the day went on, I started not feeling well, and I couldn't figure out like what was wrong. And my friend who had gone with me and was in the group called me, and she was like, "Does your one leg and other arm really hurt?"
Oh my God. It's like, did you all get sick? What?
No, we were sore from so much bowling. Good form, right? One arm, other leg. It's you're supposed to use the opposing arm and leg. And I was like, yeah, that's exactly what's wrong with me. I couldn't pinpoint it, because who has like bilateral separate limb pain at the same time? Well, that was the beginning and end of my bowling career.
Yeah, bowlingitis can really end a bowling career.
Bowlingitis, yes.
Yeah, I kind of had the same experience with Wii tennis. Do you remember the Wii?
Yeah, sure, yeah.
My forearm was so sore the next day, and I was like, I can't do that anymore. If I'm going to feel sore, I want to actually like be running around and get a workout in.
Yeah, nobody wants tennis elbow from a video game.
No, so dumb. Yeah. No. Yeah. What do you feel like is the biggest decision you've made outside of like quitting a career and starting a business, that was based off your intuition before you kind of realized you were listening to your intuition?
I think it was actually buying this apartment that I've lived in for so many years. I'm a very particular kind of person, I guess I would say. And like, if I want a thing, I know I want it, and I know like how I want it shaped. right? And so I wanted a 1-bedroom condo. I wanted to live in this neighborhood or that neighborhood or that neighborhood. And so I went to a real estate agent who was recommended to me, and he said, where do you want to live? And I gave him, at the time it was MapQuest, I gave him the MapQuest printouts and like with red outline of where my desire to live ended for each neighborhood. And he was like, I've never seen anything like this before. And we looked at, because nobody does that, Lauren. But we looked at a few different apartments, and I just, none of them felt like home. Like none of them felt like me. And I even looked at another apartment in this community that I'm in, which has 2 buildings. It was in the other building. And I went into that building and I looked at that apartment and I made a really lowball offer because I didn't really want it, but I wanted to see like, what was the offer? What did it look like to give an offer? And the person didn't accept my offer. And that was fine with me. And then we walked into this building to look at a different apartment 2 weeks later. And we walked into this building and I was like, this is my building. Yeah. Like if I don't buy this apartment, I want an apartment in this building.
Yeah.
And it's not a particularly pretty building. It's very ugly, actually. It's like 1960s tan brick. And the lobby looks a little bit like an asylum with like black and white tile and sort of an octagon shape. Like it's not that it's a beautiful building. It just felt right. And we looked at this apartment and I was like, if this is an apartment that, if this is available to me at this price, like this is the one I'll take. And then I learned that the apartment was being handled by this woman's estate because she had passed away. And I said, did she die in the apartment and was it murder? And the answer to both of those was no. And I was like, okay, then I'm not scared away.
They have to disclose it if it was murder.
And when we closed, I learned that the woman who had owned this apartment was like over 100 years old when she died. She had moved out to a nursing home before she died, but she didn't want to sell the apartment yet. And she had this young man handling her affairs. And he said to me, she would be so proud to have a single professional woman buying her apartment because she worked in women's rights for the Department of Labor. She was their longest standing ever employee. She worked for them for over 60 years. And she stood for women's rights. And the fact that you are buying this by yourself with nobody's help and you're a strong single woman, she would be so pleased. And like, I have always felt that energy in here that I belonged here, that like I was supposed to buy this place. So that was one time when my intuition like totally served me and I didn't talk myself out of it.
Yeah.
How about you? I know it's a good story, right?
That's such a good story.
Yeah.
I think when I was younger, I was very obsessed with being perfect, like doing things the right way. And then also when it just wasn't working for me, I kind of threw the baby out with the bathwater, but I think I did it in a way that was right for me. So like I left high school at the end of my junior year and actually finished high school at the local community college. I found a way to do that. I feel like my poor parents, like I didn't follow the normal educational path. And there was actually a while there, like a couple of months where my mom actually and I weren't talking because she just did not understand what I was doing. It's like she felt like I was throwing my whole future out and I was doing something that was completely contrary to everything. But I just knew that I needed to go west, manifest destiny. I feel like my whole career was me like kind of trusting my intuition that like, I always had this sense that I was gathering ingredients for a cake, but I had no idea what kind of cake I was making. It's like, oh, this cake has flour. Awesome. Oh, this cake has like raspberry jam. Random. Okay. Oh, this cake has some chocolate. All right. But it's not the primary flavor. All right. And I had no idea what I was doing until everything just kind of came together. And I was like, oh my God, this is what I'm supposed to do. But it's funny. Like I always just kind of trusted that this next step would get me another ingredient. If that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I mean, yeah, there's like, I mean, honestly, like starting my business was, and really going to coach training, that was all intuition. That was just like one of the best things I ever did for myself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Same.
Mm-hmm.
I am not typically a big researcher when I make my decisions.
Mm-hmm.
And when I find myself doing a lot of research to get to a decision, it's really like confirmation research, right? Like when I went for my coach training, I specifically wanted to go for coach training that was not facilitator based, right? That was more like on the ontology, the body sensations, the somatics, the behaviors, all that kind of stuff. And my coach at the time had gone through a specific training program that really resonated with me, and it was expensive. So my fear brain was like, you don't pay that much money for training. You're already a trained coach. You already know how to do this. That's the voice of my talker outer voice. But that voice was telling me I didn't need to spend all of that money. So I interviewed like 5 other coach training programs. And then as soon as I finished interviewing the last one, I was like, yup, I'm going. Like I needed that confirmation. But it was one of the first times that I had not talked myself out of spending a lot of money on my own self-development.
Right.
And it was like a really cool feeling to be bought into myself. And, the pain point was the overdoing of decision making, to like keep telling myself like, yep, this one's still number 1. This is probably the one I'm going to do, but let me still, confirm. And I feel like now I take shorter paths to trusting that my intuition is correct. These are the things I want to do. This is the way I want things to be. And then just going after it. In fact, coloring my hair, I had coffee with someone and we were talking about how like neither of us wears a ton of makeup or jewelry. And she said, I've never colored my hair. And I said, this is actually the longest I haven't colored my hair. Like 5 years I haven't colored my hair. And I used to color it like it was a different color every 3 to 6 months. And on my way home, I stopped at the CVS and I bought hair color and I dyed my hair.
It's so funny you say that about research though, because like I didn't talk to anyone at my coach training program. Like a coach that I'd had said, if you want to become a coach, go to the school. He's like, I didn't go there, but the coaches that I talked to who came from there are really solid. And I was like, okay, cool. So I just like bought the program online, Yeah. That's interesting to hear about like the research being the confirmation bit.
Yeah. I do think if I had come across your training program, which is coactive, that I probably would have had a harder time making a decision, because coactive really resonates with me. And in fact, we read the coactive textbook in that as like part of our training. Yeah. So yeah.
No, the coactive model has a lot for like going for it.
Yeah. So you and I have a little challenge coming up that is based on really like my intuition and my fear talking me out of my intuition, and then you offering to do it with me and be my accountability buddy. And so here's what we're gonna do, everyone.
Oh God. Yep.
Today is day 1 of 30. So for the next 29 days from here, Katie and I each, sometimes together, mostly on our own or with other guests, are going to go live on all the platforms that we go live on.
Yep.
And we have committed to doing this once a day for this 30-day period. And we have committed to each other that we have earned a consequence each if we forget or decide not to go live. And so, Katie, why don't you tell everyone what your consequence is?
So, I'm not a good singer, you could say. And my consequence, if I fail to go live one day, is that Lauren gets to pick a song for me to sing, and I have to record myself singing it in entirety. Not hitting notes, getting words wrong, all of it. I'm not a music person. It's really weird. Like I drive around just in silence, and my friends are like, "Wait, what?" So it would be really interesting. And I don't enjoy singing. It's not like a fun thing for me. So yeah, so I'm going live every fucking day. There's no way I'm missing it.
Yeah, I hear that. I would.
Would you like to share your consequence?
Yes, but I also want to add to the end of your consequence is the and post it.
That
right?
part.
Like you have to sing the song, record it, and post it to your socials. So, or at least LinkedIn. My consequence is that I get very self-conscious about how I look in photos. And so my consequence is that I have to take a photo that is objectively bad, angle, hair, facial expression, whatever, chosen by you, Katie, for me to post as a consequence of me not having gone live, and telling everybody why I had to post this objectively bad picture. So I'm looking forward to hearing at the end of our 30 days what poses you had in mind. None of bathroom will be vetoed. I will not bathroom or nude. But you would never do that.
What kind of friend / coach should I be?
These are the irrational tears that come up in my mind. I'm telling the public I will not do it. I know. I can't imagine. Breach of friendship contract.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
Yes. So we will be having those consequences. I'm looking forward to the debrief of what would have been when we both succeed and neither of us has consequences. Because I'm excited to share with you the songs that I'm thinking of that I think will get progressively more difficult for you to sing. Even without me giving you the Mariah Carey high notes to sing. So yeah,
I mean, I just wouldn't be able to hit them. Like,
yeah.
Can I tell you? So like sometimes when I do sing along with the song, Luna will yell at me. Luna attacks me when I sing. I'm that bad.
That's so
Luna,
funny.
I mean, not like attack, but like she jumps me and like tries to get me to stop. It's really bad.
There is an opera singer on Instagram, TikTok, who has a little dog. I don't know if it's a Chihuahua or what it is, but she actually has a lovely voice, a very strong voice. And every time she sings, the dog howls while she's singing. I don't know if the dog is singing along or telling her to stop, but it's very cute.
Yeah. That sounds adorable. Yeah. That's not the case. Yeah.
So here we are. Hold us accountable. Be with us on this journey. Comment, I didn't see you go live yesterday, or send us a DM if you notice it. We're going to hold ourselves accountable too, and be honest when we don't go live. But I tend to come in to going live and having videos up and photos up and all of that, and then I do it for a while and I shy away, and so I'm very hot cold. So I think this is going to like spark me back in. And it's probably a challenge I need to do a couple of times a year to keep myself really active on video.
Yeah. And it's something that I know does really well for my business. And it's just one of those things that like you fall out of the practice of it and you forget about it. And that's like kind of hard to add back into your routine.
Yeah.
You get busy and like, I didn't shower yet today. I should probably shower. I should pick out a nice shirt. Like, no one cares.
Like, if the choice is to come live without having showered versus coming live or posting a picture of myself in the most unshowered pose ever, I'd rather go live and smooth my hair down a little before I do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Wow.
So here we go. We're on it.
My friend, virtual handshake.
We're doing it. I'm proud of us. Right. I'm proud of us for doing it.
Yeah. And we have day 1 down. This is going to be nothing. We'll be fine.
Day 1's already done. It's only 29 days to go. We're 1/30th of the way there already.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Amazing. Okay. Well, with that, I release you back to your day.
And you.
Thank you.
Thanks for hanging out with us, everybody.
Yeah,
and
thank you.
We'll see you for the next 30 days.
Bye.
Bye.